My name is Mike Margolis. Call me either Mike or Dr. Mike, either way. If you have a question, stop me. I don't get upset. And I'm going to try to give you a little different than what they had in the brochure. It's basically do not throw out the baby in the bathwater. Anybody know where that expression came from? In Asia, the custom was the father would take a bath first. And then came the mom. And then came the eldest child. And then came the next child, and the next child, and the next child. Now, I don't know what that did for sanitary conditions, but that last child got all the crap that everybody had. And later, when the son got older and was bigger than the mother, he went up a scale or whatever. Very sexist. But I'm going to give you an integrative approach of pancreatic cancer that I saw last January. And we combined traditional, complementary, and biological dentistry. He had a patient or a client who's a financial person, and that client was a publisher, and she only worked with alternative doctors. And she comes in from LA to get her teeth cleaned at my office and other things. I got her 3 doctors in LA, and I can't say how disappointed I was with the doctors and the care that she got. So she just flies out to see us. That's my passion. I love to ride, but I don't have any time anymore. I got lucky enough to adopt a grandchild because his father wasn't, or mother weren't capable of raising him. So I got an 8-year-old, and I'm 67. So I say God, he has a sense of humor. Okay? You know, when we were kids, we were told, brush those teeth, floss them, everything's going to be great. You are going to do so good, you're going to keep your teeth forever. And then what happens? You ask yourself this question. What happened? Can average dental care make you sick? Think about it. People put in metal restorations. Some of them are actually based in mercury. Well, mercury, on any scale, is a neurological toxin. Stuff can kill you. And I'll explain a little bit why some people get really sick and other people think that they can drink it and not have a problem. And then we look at the success of dentistry. These people all brush their teeth. And there you go. That tooth isn't there anymore. We get braces, and the braces are metal. They're nickel titanium. It's great when you look at the physical properties of things for braces because it's got a memory and it can move things out. But if you have the opportunity to listen to Dr. Felix Layout, he talks about a airway management situation of a program that is called Vivos. I have financial interest in that thing, so I got to tell you that. I don't have any other financial interest in anything else I'll tell you about. But Vivos develops the airway. Braces don't develop your airway, they make your teeth look pretty. And so what happens, he's got a book out on it, it's called The 3-Foot Cage with a 6-Foot Tiger. Your tongue. And you choke to death on it. There's something you all have to take a look at, because what kills cancer? Oxygen. And oxygen is important for everybody to have. So, this guy brushed them really well. Okay. Over here, you got your mercury filling that leaks 24/7, 365 or 6 days a year. You've got nice looking porcelain crowns, but what's underneath it? It's metal or gold. Now, every crown that's made has a minimum of 3 to 6 metals in it. So you got dissimilar metals, and if they're not made at the same time at the same lab and everything, they're going to have a different mixture. So we're going to talk about that in a second. And of course, these are our favorites. They're called the spit outs, dentures. By the way, that's the name of civil in my practice, thinking outside the mouth. Okay. So, oral galvanic charges. When you take dissimilar metals and you put them in a solution like saliva, you're going to get interaction of the electrons. What enzyme is released in the mouth? Does anybody know? And if you don't know, don't worry. Half the doctors I know don't know that it's amylase. And you chew up your food. How many people here actually chew their food 35 times before you swallow? My son, 8 years old, he inhales the food. And I sit there and say, slow down, chew. If I get 10 chews out of it, I'm happy. But you got to emulsify that food. You got to break it down. Because as we get older, the acid in your stomach gets more basic, and you don't digest your food, you don't dissolve it. So one of the first things I talk to my patients about is, do you take a hydrochloric acid pill with your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? They look at me and go, hydrochloric acid, that's bad for you. No, that's your lifeline. Now, how much should you have? Start with a pill with your meal. Of course, digestive enzymes first, 30 minutes to 15 minutes before, and then chew your food up really good, add the acid to that, and then if you feel like you can take another pill, you do. Your body will tell you if you got too much. Then you get acid indigestion, you back off. That's how you actually titrate it. So in this battery, what's happened is you got metal, gold, and amalgam, which is a combination of mercury, tin, silver, copper. And when they added the copper, that even made it worse, because copper makes everything go faster, release faster. And if you've ever seen The Smoking Tooth by David Kennedy, who's a very dear friend of mine, you'll see that it leaks. And the reason you can't see mercury leaking out of your mouth now is because you're in ambient air. If you put a phosphorus screen around the mouth that has mercury coming out, you'll see the vapors. So, over here, there are 3 companies to choose correct materials. Biocomp Laboratories is owned by Hal Huggins, who now is owned by Blanche Ruby. If you get a chance to listen to Blanche talk, she's great. She's got 1 or 2 lectures coming up. Highly recommend her. Of course, we're very dear friends. In fact, everybody in this place are good friends of mine. And then Clifford Testing I've used since 1994. They give you NS, not suited well, or S, maybe suited. They have over 17,000 different dental products that are used in dentistry. Now the trick is to know which products go with which. And since I've been doing it since 1994, I know the combinations really, really well. We've experimented with it. And so we actually have different categories of materials in my office, because if we find out that they're reactive to one, I know which one to go to. So it really helps. And this is what fluoride does. It happens to bunch your blood into a bunch. These should be separated, and they aren't. They're all bundled together. That is the reaction they're looking for, making it not suited for your body. So, come on. This is what their page looks like. I was hoping it was going to go out and be a lot larger, but over here there's 2 letters, NS. Over on this side, which is non-metal crowns, you see a lot of S's. Over here, you see not suited at all. That's what I see in most of my patients. So test for acceptable and unacceptable materials. Anything that contains a toxin is automatically marked by Biocomp and Clifford. So if you've got aluminum, beryllium, cadmium, chromium, estrogen mimicking products, got to purge it. Mercury thimerosal, non-precious metals. You never put gold and silver and mercury together, because that creates a battery, which we just showed. So, this is where I came up with the idea of don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, contraindications. Dispersoid is the largest producer of mercury fillings. Henry Schein is a dental house that sells a lot of stuff. They are the biggest pushers of mercury fillings. I don't buy anything from them for that reason. And the use of amalgam is contraindicated. Now the black ones is what they produced. The white one I put in there. I don't know why, but so you don't want them touching each other. Patient with severe renal deficiency and patients known allergies to amalgams. Now, does that mean people have an allergy to, think of a great toxin, I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Arson.
That's it, arsenic. How many want to drink arsenic? It's in our water some places. I think it was Detroit had it, Cleveland, and all these other eastern country cities. And they had arson levels. That's supposed to be covered by public water acts. Well, amalgam's the same thing. And then over here, retrograde endodontic fillings. When you get a root canal and it fails, they go in the top, they open a little hole, and then they take an amalgam filling and plug it. Now, if you're on the upper arch, that's not too far from the brain. And then you've got cast crowns and children under 6 and expectant mothers. I think that's just common sense. Oh, that's what I put down there. Just use common sense. Would you want that stuff in your mouth? No. And yet I have dentists that tell me, oh, there's no proof. Just look at toxic tooth syndrome or toxic materials, toxic teeth on your internet. You'll see all the things. And then Blanche Ruby, again, I mentioned her because they just published mercury contamination for dental amalgam. And what they did was they went to a medicine National Institute of Health research database and did it in their health pollution magazine. What did they do? They sidestepped the ADA and the FDA and went to a group that actually cares about health. You know, so they went ahead and they went the other way. Even after the last mercury dental amalgam is placed, its toxicity will last for decades. If you look at a 10,000 acre lake and they got one amalgam in there, you've contaminated that lake for decades. So, traditional dentistry accepts that the ADA, the American Dollar Association, and sister organizations as safe and acceptable practices of placing approved materials like mercury-based amalgam fillings, RPDs, color agents that actually use mercury as a base for their paint, the nickel titanium wires. Some of these things you need to have. I'll be honest with you. If you do orthodontics, you must have nickel titanium if you're going to move things around. But inform the patient, check and make sure they're doing everything else. And root canals, root canal therapy, incomplete extraction techniques. I might as well tell you that the state of Arizona last year tried to take my license away from me. Actually, it was a year and a half, 2 years in court, and or leading up to it. And what we did was I got people to come in and testify before me, and we presented science. People like Boyd Haley from the University of Kentucky, who was past chairman of that department of chemistry. And he lectured to the dental students telling them the dangers of mercury. And he published an article on it. And the chancellor got a complaint from the president of the Dental Association. He said, we'll have a little meeting. So the president of the dental school comes in with a folder underneath his arm. He was asked to bring his scientific research. Dr. Boyd Haley brought in 6 or 7 of those trucks with all the research in it and wheeled it in. And the president of the dental school looked at him and said, I want him kicked out of here. He says, where's your science? He says, it's right here. Hands him the folder. The guy looked at him and says, Boyd, what's your science say? And he handed him everything over. He says, you will be lecturing in the dental school the beginning year and end year, and you're going to make room for him if you want to stay as president. So Boyd did great on that. Dr. Tom Levy, he's here today. Please meet the gentleman. He testified for me also. He was phenomenal. Cardiologist, internist. He worked with Hal Huggins, who wrote the book, It's All in Your Head, Uninformed Consent, Solving the MS Mystery. Tom has written multiple books. If you have not seen or read Hidden Epidemics, you must buy that book this weekend if you want to understand about root canals. Because root canals are dangerous. They kill people. They cause problems. I know. I had one. And it's gone. And that's how I got into this. And we'll talk about that a little later too. But Tom went in there and gave him the science. Do you realize that if you have 2 or more root canals in your mouth and poorly extracted teeth, which can be called ischemic osteonecrotic bone or cavitations, different names, different things, and he showed that if you have those conditions in your mouth, you increase your chance of having a heart attack or a stroke way over 200%. So it's amazing. Mercury leaks out 24/7. Incomplete extraction technique, leaving behind abscess tissue, buried on the ligament, preventing the proper reestablishment of blood vessels. How does that happen? Well, let's look at a tooth. You're in a socket. And in that socket is a periodontal ligament that connects the bone to the bone. Teeth are considered bone by the body. It acts as a cushion. So when you bite, your tooth goes up into the socket and down into the socket. And it goes back and forth. Part of the reason for that is to pump the tooth and the fluids going through the tooth. And that way, as it's pumped, all the things that are inside the tooth are forced out, and it causes a suction to bring in the nutrition, the oxygen, and anything else that's going to go through in the tooth, and then puts it out so the body can dispose of it properly. You do a root canal, you got a gangrenous green tooth there, everything's decomposing. But that pumping action pushes the toxins out into the body. Now, what does a virus and what does a bacteria do? They sit there and say, hey, I need food. And that's an invitation to the party. And the bacteria eat each other up, along with the viruses, and you have a perpetual gangrene situation occurring. Teeth are organs. How many dead organs do you want in your body? And after root canal therapy is complete, the tooth is still dead. Prior to this, I used to do 10 root canals a month. I had endodontists, guys who specialized in it. I said, God, you're good. Why was I good? Because I knew which teeth to avoid because I could never do them right. Most guys try it, and then after they've ruined it, they try to get the endodontist to fish it out. I didn't even start it. So anyway, now let's talk about mercury fillings. This young lady, Debbie, works with me for 20 years actually. I've been doing it. I don't know why I said 25. She just got her 20th year. So this is my Harley room, because I ride a Harley. And in the seat, I tell people I have a seat, I'll give you the ride in the Harley. And then over here, that's what we look like when we're going in. Now, I've been in a dental school and they give a lecture and said, look at these fools, what are they doing? The fool looks like that when they're sitting there taking mercury out, because they're breathing it. It's coming in, it's getting here. I can't tell you how many hygienists I had to go through to find 2 that wouldn't polish a tooth that had a mercury filling in it. Why? You heat up, the mercury comes out. What do I want them breathing that for? And I know a number of hygienists, they had multiple miscarriages as a result of being a hygienist and being pregnant. So one doesn't have to do with the other. So we prepare for that. And what do? We use a system that's been developed by the IABDM, another one by the IOMT, where we have protocols. They're very, very similar. There's 1 or 2 differences that I don't really know. But this is another assistant. This is our vacation room. This is our Mexican room. The doctor in that room speaks Spanish, and he loves going down to Puerto Vallarta, so he wanted to make his room. So I said, go for it. But we got to protect the patient too. Take a look at what you have. You have a separate source of oxygen. We call that snuffleupagus. It's a high vac here. We got another vacuum up at the top to take the ions out of the air above there, and those are cleaned periodically. So, what about fluoride? You know, they tell you, oh, you got to have fluoride. If you don't have fluoride, you're not going to be able to prevent yourself from having cavities. On the contrary, I come from Chicago, the mecca of the American Dental Association. They've had it in their water over 80 years. You'd think if they gave that much fluoride, that there wouldn't be a cavity in the city. Bull. I'm not allowed to put bullshit together and say that. But bull, okay? So, the fact is, the early studies were weighted. Dr. Hodges worked for the aluminum company, the Mellon family, and he was going to make it look good. And what were they involved with at that time? Anybody ever hear of the Manhattan Project? And how do you enrich uranium? Fluoride. So they had billions and billions of containers of fluoride. How do you get rid of it? Tell everybody, it reduces tooth decay. And we're going to put it in your water because it's supposed to have that. Well, what that does with kids is it delays the eruption of teeth. So when you have a 9-year-old and the teeth aren't out yet, you can say there were no cavities there. So they had a higher rate of cavity-free than anybody else. Okay, then the total daily fluoride intake not significantly related to decay. How do you get this? How do you get the molding of the teeth, and that is susceptible to decay? That's from fluoride. So after 70 years of fluoridating, why isn't Chicago full of cavities? So biological dentists is growing into new fields. New materials are being developed for patients' use in growing new bone and possibly growing new teeth. That's come out. They actually have grown teeth in tubes. The only problem is you might get a molar when you want an incisor. That'd be kind of goofy. New implants are made out of ceramics. I do place those. I also tell people that you're putting a foreign object in the body. You don't see me having an implant in here. I have no bone, but I'll get that taken care of. I'll probably put a ceramic implant in there. But you also have a new field, and I was talking about that earlier, evaluating and managing airway and sleep disorders. I look like I'm in great shape. It's only because I'm a mess. I have a replaced knee from soccer injuries. I got a torn rotator cuff, that's it. I got rear-ended by a tow truck going 45 miles an hour. I was doing 0, making a left-hand turn. I avoided an oncoming car by inches. The seats that I was in the car, the person next to me who refused to put his seatbelt on until I refused to turn the car. He would have been through the windshield and killed instantly. And after all that fun stuff was done, my neck went from 17.5 inches to 24 inches. I had gas if I ate anything, and I had kidney stones twice. If you look at a tooth meridian, you'll see that that tooth is your thyroid, parathyroid, stomach, kidneys, and breast. The only part I didn't get was breast cancer. And I have seen 5 cases in 35 years of men having breast cancer also. So it was really kind of interesting. So there are connections. And that's what led me to become a biological dentist, because nothing else made sense. So we're going to switch gears now. Gives you a little background of where I'm coming from. All right? Now, innovative approach of treating a pancreatic cancer patient with both traditional complementary medicine and biological dentistry. This guy started out, here he is, we'll call him NF because those are his initials, and he decided that he saw so many people go through traditional medicine and they die a miserable death. He says, how can I make this work? And he was very athletic. He was, until he ruined the knee, he was on pace joining the downhill skis of the Canadian Olympic team. And then he messed up a knee and that was it. But he got into finance and is very successful. After returning from a Saturday evening business event dinner, he gets undressed. His fiancée says, "You're yellow from head to toe." Anybody know what that would be from? Jaundice. So he called his physician at 10:30. I told you he was an investor guy, and his physician was very well compensated in the investments that he made. Told him, it's Saturday night, blow it off, we'll see you Monday, it's just jaundice. Just jaundice. Called his cardiologist, sell me down at Cedar Sinai in 20 minutes. That evening they ran tests on him and everything else. His cardiologist ordered more tests, and the preliminary diagnosis was stage 1 pancreatic cancer. So, the director of the cancer program, I got it all worked out. Anybody know what the success rate on pancreatic cancer is? Usually you don't find it to stage 3 or 4, and it's called bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. They got stage 1. We had a chance, okay? He hired 2 nutritionists, 2 licensed physicians that he found in Arizona because we have alternative medicine, complementary medicine throughout the state, and they have their own board. Multiple complementary programs of active treatment had to be done. He had a lot of IVs. Consulted 2 medical intuitives. These women have been phenomenal. I actually use one in Florida, and it's all done over the phone. But you want to find somebody that's reputable and has a track record. Dietary changes immediately. Bedroom changes. All TV and electronics out of the bedroom. And lifestyle changes and supplements. He watched everything he ate. And then after talking to his publicist, she gave him 15 names. And he kept on going down the road. What I found out was he was also a medical intuitive. And he went through and read each name, and he circled the name that came to mind, which one he thought could help him. My name was circled 5 times. It did it 5 times. Anybody else was 4 times. I had no idea who this guy was. I'm Jewish, he's Jewish. Turns out that our families were pretty much from the same area of Europe, 3 generations ago. And we developed a very big bond. This is what his teeth looked like, with the exception of this little thing right there was not there. This tells you that there's porcelain fused to metal or full porcelain crowns. And what we had were these were metal here, here, and here. And that one up there was metal. This was metal and a root canal. We look at his gums, which are pretty good except for a few little locations. You don't want an 8 and 6 millimeter pocket or the 5, but that's right next to his root canal. And when we look at this, he had good oral surgery, 2 area, or oral health, periodontal health. He had his wisdom teeth missing. He also had restorations over here that porcelain fused to metal. Well, we don't like metal in the mouth. It causes a battery. The full porcelain crowns were actually good, and he had white filling material composites and an abscess present from a radiograph. Now, he just had his teeth cleaned, and is there any way to turn those lights down? Because if you can, it's back there, there's a panel back there on the left wall. Just turn them off if you can. That's at the very bottom one. Now, if you look very closely, you're going to see right here a shadow. That shadow caused the pocket, and that thing is an abscess. It was so obvious on all his records that that abscess was there. And his dentist said, oh, we see that all the time, it's not a problem. And what is a tooth meridian chart? The first meridian is your oral urogenital lines. The next one is your canines, which is going to be your, your canines, I'll come back to it. Then you have your large intestine and lungs on the premolars and molars. You have your stomach and thyroid. This was my tooth over here. And you also had your wisdom teeth. And the canine is your gallbladder and liver. Okay? So his tooth was number 5, which is right next to this one here. And that kind of tells you right off the bat of it has an influence on the gallbladder and the pancreas. And we're going to show you that here in a second. Right here in the American Biocom Health Systems, number 5 was the pancreas. And what was causing him this problem. This is something you won't find every day anymore. It's called Cavitat. It's an ultrasonic imaging machine that is FDA approved. I know it was approved because I was on the committee that got it approved through the FDA. And the Arizona Board of Dental Examiners, even though I presented all the papers, wouldn't believe it. When they came after me for my licenses last year, we presented the registration papers and everything else, and the director was asked, why don't you accept it? Well, it's not FDA approved. Says, well, Jerry Boco, my other expert, pathologist who handled this whole situation, getting this approved, said, of course it was approved. Dr. Margolis is instrumental. We had 1,300 images that we brought to the FDA. Normally, most people bring in 10 to 20. And we showed a 99.6% correlation between disease and the cavitat and the 3D cone beam X-ray. So you put all that together, you take a look and see how the cavitat works. It puts a signal through, it comes back to the computer. If the signal goes all the way through, because we use all-very gel, it will give you green. If it's broken up, that means the bone's not healthy. So, Bob Jones, who unfortunately is no longer with us today, came up with this scale with Jerry Boco. A 0, let's see if I can get this in the right direction, that is very healthy. Over here, this is common. We see it all the time. It's not a big deal. And then over here, these are the areas where you've got to start going in and cleaning them out. And it's 99.6% accurate. So if I do 100 of them, maybe one isn't what we thought it was. So that's pretty good odds on a periodic table. So over here, you have a situation where these are past extraction sites. This is the failed root canal, and these blue things are metal crowns. So that's the upper right again, upper left, lower right, on the bottom, lower left there. And it just blows it up showing what I'm looking at. This area right here has a dark shadow. Bone should look like this, not like that. So that's actually a cesspool. And over here, again, you have a lack of bone density, and these metal crowns are forming a galvanic charge. And then the PBFMs over here on 18 and 19, lower left, and then there's a honeycomb effect. You'll see the shadow and the bone, the shadow and the bone. It's because it didn't heal properly. And the same thing over here. You see this purple line? That's no man's zone. That's your lower mandibular nerve complex. You don't want to cut that. Or your face will go along and you get sued. Now, if you're an oral surgeon, you don't get sued. My son's an oral surgeon. And the first time that he saw this surgery, he was a second-year student as an oral surgeon, putting faces back together, wiring them. And he says, Dad, I want to see what you do. Well, Grandma was in town. My mother needed 2 badly decayed root canal teeth out. And I said, come on, sit down. He sits on the left side. He's left-handed. I'm right-handed. He's my assistant. We get her numb. My mother was a character, God bless her. She gets in the chair. I go ahead and I get her really numb and about ready to open everything up. And she said, stop. I said, why? She says, I got to savor this moment. I got my son on the left, my grandson on the right, and I'm the center of attention. So that's my mom, or was my mom. So anyhow, there's the abscess on that tooth. When you do a 3D, you can do it in different directions. This abscess goes all the way around here, goes almost up into the sinus. You can see the reaction up here in the sinus of inflammation. This is the lower bone, the floor of the sinus. And that's, again, what I put down, pancreatic cancer. So over here, here's a nice little chart. Shows where the pancreas is, and dysbiosis and dyspnea. Yeah, sure.
Would that inflammation in the sinus tract, would that prevent you from having any type of allergic reactions to anything, and then once it's removed, allergies are onset?
You know, the question was, and I don't know if I heard you right, was can that cause sinus problems or allergies?
Like a delay in allergies?
No, it would exuberate your allergies because you're already inflamed.
I just had all my stuff done recently, and then all of a sudden I just had an onset of allergies out of nowhere. So I wasn't sure.
Well, I don't know what method was taken on removing everything. I don't know if they tested to see what materials were good. You know, people all want to come in for ceramic implants because they're supposed to be good. 6% of the American public cannot take ceramic implants. So that's why I do a Clifford test. And what it is that if you look at the periodic chart, you'll have aluminum and then you have zirconium. Now, aluminum oxide, does anybody know what aluminum oxide is? porcelain, glass. You can see through it. Can you see through aluminum? No. Zirconium is a metal. Zirconium is oxidized zirconium, and it's a ceramic. Now, if you look at women and they get breast cancer and they're using antiperspirants, they're putting aluminum right here that flows into the breast, collects in the fatty tissue, and can cause problems, like breast cancer, stuffing up your drainage, your natural drainage. Well, there's a cross sensitivity between the two. So that's why I try checking materials. And then you just have that tooth causing a problem, and this guy is sitting there. He's got other problems that I got to tell you, because not every patient writes down their past surgeries that they were supposed to write down. I'll tell you about that in a second. So we go ahead, and this guy has it right. We need a plan. He's going through chemotherapy in Los Angeles. I live in the Phoenix area. He's seen 2 doctors in Phoenix. All 3 of us want to work on him, but we can only have his tush and the cushion one place at a time. So there was competition, but we had to sit back and prioritize. So I had to take care of all these conditions, but I had to do it systematically. So we got a cleaning on the first one, and then we were going to start removing some of the metal restorations. There was only one in the upper right, so we thought we'd do that. And then the other teeth we'd take out, the other metal crowns, remove the root canal, and start cleaning out the wisdom teeth areas. And then coordinate and talk to all the practitioners and see how we can support, what reactions we were getting, reevaluate his overall conditions, and go back to cleaning on our part. So January 8th he came in, January 10th, we tried to replace the crown on tooth number 2, and I took the crown off. I take so many crowns off a year, hundreds. And when I removed this, all that was there was the nerve. There was no tooth structure there. Why he had no pain, I have no idea. It was definitely alive. I scooped out the nerve, and I temporized the tooth. And he gets on the phone, calls the oncologist. This guy's the head of oncology at Cedar Hospital, Sinai Hospital in LA. And he picks up the phone for him. And you know that he's busy. So NF talks to him. He says, take the tooth out. I looked at him, and NF looked at me and says, no way. He wasn't strong enough to do both. And we knew that he had to stay on schedule for the chemo. So I temporized it. And then he came back 2 weeks later. And then I took out the 4 metal crowns, and then we went to tooth number 5. I was going to take tooth number 2 out at the same time and clean up area number 1, but he had enough. You can tell the energy of a person. He had enough. We temporized everything. We took our impressions for future crowns, and then we got him over to somebody for some IV work. And what we were faced with was CA19-9. This test measures an amount of protein in the blood that is a tumor marker. There's more to the story that they don't tell you. The gallbladder and the pancreas also have the same marker. And it actually measures inflammation. Now they call it a type of tumor marker, but this is not the only thing that you're going to treat pancreatic cancer for. Because there's other tests. Because it could be the gallbladder. Now he failed to write down in his health history. December 2018, 3 weeks before all this started, he had a gallbladder attack. And they went in and they put a metal stent into his body. Now Clifford does a medical test and they do a dental test. When I had my left knee replaced, Clifford said, we're going to see what you can do. And I brought the test results to a physician who had never seen something like that before. I said, what are these products? Here are the products. Can you use any one of these? He said, yeah, because it was all coated with ceramics. So we come in here, and he had high cancer markers right here. And the high levels are often a sign of pancreatic cancer. Monitor, and it kept on going up and up and up. The test is not used by itself. You have to have other screenings, and ultrasound was very, very important because they could see that there was definitely something wrong. And this is his results. In December, it was 2,200, and then in December 21st was 2,600. I did a surgery on him. I think it's the next slide. Come on, we have the next slide. Yeah, there it is. From December 21st, on January 26th, I took out the root canal. Look at the number. 188. His doctor said, holy shit. What have you done? I saw my dentist. He's a biological dentist. He's remarkable. But then we started seeing something concerning over here, and that went up. Anything under 500 is not really a concern, but that should have been going up. And I asked him, what are we missing? Then he woke up one day and he had severe pain, couldn't get out of bed. The stent that they put in for drainage on the gallbladder got stuffed up from all the chemotherapy die-off. And they went in, they did a surgery on him. They took the gallbladder out and they said, well, we want to do a biopsy of the liver. He said, absolutely not. Why would you do a biopsy on the liver? You're going to open it up to the outside organs. They have inflammation. You don't want to do that. So you know what they did? They did nothing. They didn't biopsy what they took out. That is below every standard of care I've ever seen. And this is a major, major hospital in Los Angeles in the United States. He's no longer at this hospital. He's over at UCLA, who have an alternative department. And yesterday, he had one of the practitioners come in because he's back in the hospital because of complications from the gallbladder. And they sat there and they meditated with the physician. Name another facility in the United States, a major facility that would do something. Neil and I talk all the time. Okay, so we only dropped 2,400 points in less than 2 weeks. Tell me there's no correlation. Before I had the problem with the board, because it cost me a lot of money, about $175,000 to defend myself. The good part about it cost the board about $250,000, and they lost. They're not used to losing. And so, oh, by the way, you won't find a GoFundMe or anything like that. That was my fight. And so we went ahead, and we turned around, and we were talking to all these people about these numbers and how everything works and with the board. I started a research project with women who got DNA readings on their cancers. And I had 3 cases, which my staff have put away somewhere, I don't know who they are. And we found that the bacteria from DNA in the mouth from root canals and cavitations or the ischemic osteonecrotic bone were the same DNA in the cancer. So if anybody has $250,000 that they'd like to donate, and I'll set up the research program. Right now, we're going to start a project with the University of Arizona. Our new president, Nick Meyer, met somebody, and they're setting up a research program just marking mark-ons in the mouth and the rest of the body. Nobody's done that. But I want to do the cancer markers and see if we can do that, because I think there's a very big correlation that can come with it. So that's what happened there. It went high. Now, the thing that's kind of crazy is when they did this thing, when they did this drop, this really should go on like this and then straight down. It didn't come down like this. That's when they tested. So they combined it together. It's really, this was out this way. When we hit took out that root canal, it dropped. So the graft is off, but I'm not going to argue with him. So here's the timing. I told you that on there, January 26th, extraction of the tooth. Everything went different. His eyes changed. The corneas turned white in 30 seconds. It was like the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. 2 months of great results. The doctor approaches NF and says, okay, we've seen these numbers and everything, but we need to schedule you for pancreatic surgery. And NF said, if I walked in with these numbers that I have today, and you knew nothing else, what would you do? What would you recommend? He says, nothing. So why do you want me? He says, what are the results of people having pancreatic cancer and their survival rates 5 years later? And the guy turned white. He said, they're not very good. So that's the problem that he ran into. And so they agreed to watch everything. And then after his gallbladder problems and the second stent failing, they put another stent in. And the Clifford test says he can't take pills. So we have complications at all ends because nobody talked to anybody. And he wanted the surgeon to talk to me, and the guy never called. And trying to get hold of the surgeon, not knowing him, you know. What's the difference between some surgeons and God? God knows he's not a surgeon. And here they are. They got married September 22nd, and they're going through a healing crisis now, but he's going to make it. He's going to do well, and that's his new wife. So, any questions that I can answer? Any questions I can't answer? Just give me a question. Okay. Back there was first.
What would it take to get you to move your practice here to Tennessee?
My grandchildren are in Phoenix. Where am I going to go?
Thank you for coming here and telling the people of Tennessee the truth.
Well, you know, the whole thing is this. I've given classes to many, many dentists. If you get a group of people and cover my expenses to come out, I'll talk to everybody and anybody. My wife likes me to be home. Her birthday's tomorrow, so I'm leaving tonight because she cried I wasn't going to be home for her birthday. I said, oh yeah, I will. This is my third wife. I don't want a fourth. She was my attorney against the dental board when they first started their thing against me. And so she's gone 20 years through all this garbage. She wasn't the main lead attorney on this. One of her associate doctors or attorneys was. Yes, sir.
My question was kind of an opinion for you, and kind of goes off of that. Why do you think that this is kind of, I don't want to say hidden, but why isn't this a little bit more mainstream?
Okay.
I believe this 100%.
You're Tim saying, why isn't this out in the public?
Yeah.
Why isn't there? I just spent $175,000 defending myself against idiots. I have all the biopsies. I have all, you see my treatment plans, they're written out. It says everything that can go wrong. But since I'm not an oral surgeon, I'm held to a higher standard of care. And the problem was a complaint that I had placed 2 implants, and they said it was too close to the nerve, and it was too close to that, and it wasn't exactly right, and they said they were unrestorable. Well, they were ceramic implants, and the doctors who looked at them had never restored a ceramic implant. And so when I went into court in trial, my lab guy says, that's bullshit, these are perfect. So we went ahead, he reproduced it from a 3D into a 3D model and made the bridge. And so this oral surgeon comes in, he's about 3 times the size of me. His clothes are hanging off, and he has a nutritional drink, a 32-ounce Circle K, Mountain Dew, or Dr. Pepper. Okay? And he's the standard of health. And he sits there, I got all the answers. He did this wrong, he did that wrong, that's not right, this isn't right. So my attorney gets up there and lets him talk. And he says, well, you say that that's unrestorable. He says, oh, that's terrible. I have to put in, I know all about it. So he hands him a model. And they made a 3-unit bridge, which is what it was designed for. And it went right in perfectly. Didn't have to touch anything up. Says, does that fit? He says, well, that's a 3-unit bridge. He says, yes, sir. In dentistry, you have 3-unit bridges. When was the last time you restored an implant or a tooth? I said 25 years ago, but I got an A in it. These guys have an agenda. The other oral surgeon that testified against me had 35 violations, turned around, and I had referred him a number of patients. And then he realized who I was and that I had referred to him. He didn't like cutting his nose off to spite his face, turned around, said, well, the only thing I can really say is that he took out a perfectly healthy root canal tooth. Well, Boyd Haley, who is a chemist, biochemist, testified that there is no such thing as a perfectly healthy root canal tooth. It's dead. And you can't do anything about it. It's gangrene. So, at that point, we turn around, and he said, that's all I can see that he did wrong. Now, I was very lucky. I had a young judge. She's about 6'2". She played college basketball. There's no way around it. She has young kids. And she's of color. And she's a social activist. And she could see what was happening. I had all the scientific proof in the world, and they had 2 opinions. And both of them stunk. And so she found in my favor. And it's one of the things that I sat down and wrote an article, and my wife said, that's a beautiful article. And I'm not a writer, she is, being an attorney. And she says, that will never see the light of day. Because there are guys going out shooting alternative doctors. You put that article out there, you're #1 target. I said, my life insurance up to date. She doesn't care about that. Well, she does, but doesn't. But it's hard, because it's hard to go out there, and when you do legal cases, I could have 1,000 cases that are fantastic. I had hundreds of patients who wanted to come testify for me, but it meant nothing, because all they did was talk about 2 cases. And that saved me, because they put 2 cases in that didn't correlate well to one another, and both of the people were pizzas. You know what a pizza is? Pain in the tuchus. Okay? But they already had an opinion. If a complaint ever came in on me, it was Margolis, so he was guilty. And I know people were on the board and they said, well, I can't disagree with you, but I can't comment on it. And the good part about it was the executive director was protecting a guy from India who became a dentist in Arizona. And he used to do IV sedation in India. He was very well trained, ex-military. And when he came to the States, he says, you know, it's too expensive to get certified. It's $25,000. So what did he do? He took pictures off paint and made himself 2 or 3 different degrees and gave himself certificates, submitted it to the board, which is supposed to investigate each and every one of them. And the only way that he could have gotten around that was he had maybe a special relationship with the executive director, and when it was brought up at an open meeting and a guy from Channel 15 came in and introduced himself and asked, well, I want to talk about Dr. So-and-so. And she got up, this is not the time and place. She said, well, it's a public meeting, it's new business, why is it time and place? She literally got up and walked out. It was walk down to the governor of the state who hates boards. He took all the boards, professional boards, and put them in one building. And they're so pissed. Because they had all these nice rented places, saved the taxpayers over $1 million a year in rents. The building was paid for, but then they had to pay the state to be in it. Well, they collect money. And let me tell you, the dental board collects a lot of money because they will fine you for whatever. And I can be 100% right. It doesn't matter. I'm a biological dentist. So to answer your question, a lot of people are afraid. I'm an SOB. I stand up for my patients, I stand up for what I think is right, and you're going to have to go through me. So, I have military experience, not much, but went through one war in Israel in '73, and I was on the Syrian front. I'm not a nice person. I found that out, but I'm alive. And the whole thing is, that's how I feel when it comes to this. There's no better feeling of having a patient like him and so many others that come in and give you a hug and say thank you. I've never cured anybody, by the way. The one who cures is in the picture. Every patient cures themselves. It's up to you to do the work. I'll guide and help and give you the conditions that you can heal yourself. Yes?
That's actually a good segue into my question. I was going to say, being exposed to mercury for such a prolonged period of time, is there any treatments after they're removed?
Oh, God, there's treatments before, during, and after. The protocols that we utilize, and they're on our website, IABDM.org. You got your badges, it says IABDM, just put .org past that, and look up the protocol for safe mercury removal. Ask them, do they use the filters? Do they use high suction? Do they cover you up? Do they cover your clothing? Give you, there's a cream, mercury cream that you put on your face that we utilize, separate source of oxygen. It was in that picture back there at the beginning. I don't know how to get it. Well, we can go all the way back in that. But the rooms have to be set up. The only thing that I violate is I got too much stuff in there and we have to wipe it down at the end of the week. We wipe them down.
And what about treatment after the removal?
Well, I work with a lot of naturopaths. I'm very, very lucky, and homeopaths, which are MDHs. And they will get you on a diet protocol to help you detoxify. IVs are very, very important. IV vitamin C, glutathione, ozone is wonderful. And there's a new product on the market today called liquid oxygen. And it's salt water and oxygen, and you put a drop in your nose on one side to go to the other side, and then both, and it will clear you out. It saturates your brain with oxygen. And then, if anybody use essential oils, okay? Young Living, doTERRA, you take peppermint, Frankenstein, and On Guard, put that in your water during the flu season, you're pretty well protected. Young Living has comparable times. You know, they used to be the same company. And then, of course, being what people are, they have an argument, and they say, okay, I'll pick up my ball and go over here and play this one. So, Clifford set up all of Dr. Huggins' protocols, and they had a disagreement about aluminum and aluminum oxide. Next day, Dr. Clifford, or Mr. Clifford, he's not a doctor, found that he had been let go. And he went down to a place, got a loan, found a place to rent, and set up, and 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, he started his own business. And it's the largest of its type. Biocomp is still good, but they don't nearly have the same amount of materials that they test for. Anything else? Yes?
What's the difference between the different associations, biological defense,
Okay, there are 3 biological organizations. The IABDM is a little smaller than the IOMT. We base a lot of stuff on many different things, many different modalities. We'll use EAV, which is an acupuncture type thing. I use a lot of applied kinesiology and things like that. And we use a lot of scientific stuff. The IOMT is a larger organization. I belong to both of them. I'm past president of the IABDM. They have a larger base, and they think that you can make a root canal healthy. They're definitely anti-fluoride, anti-mercury. And for the first, 20 years, I think that's pretty much you went to their conference, and that's what you found. They're opening up more and more now. But there are little minor differences, but I think that those are pretty much the same. Then you get the Holistic Dental Association. I've been a member of them for a long time, and they're non-political, non-activists. So get your Birkenstocks on and go to their meetings, and you're fine. Ma'am, go ahead.
What is the website for the tooth meridian chart?
Okay, right now, we're in the middle of reconstructing my website, but if you go to mydentistaz.com, let's see if that was I smart enough? I don't know. No, I didn't even put it in there. I usually put my website. It's mydentistaz for Arizona.com. I'll have a tooth chart there. If you go on the internet and put down tooth meridian chart, you'll see dozens come up.
Right.
Good question, very good question.
Yeah, I have a chart, but
Yeah.
it's not the one that you showed.
If you go to the table, Dawn Ewing did a chart a long time ago, and she wrote a book called Let the Tooth Be Known. It's on sale out here. I highly recommend, if you want to understand the tooth charts, to buy her book. I don't get a kickback. Well, it's really important. I went to a lecture once at one of the, it wasn't this organization, and the guy got up there and did a whole lecture the whole day, and all he was doing was pushing his protocols and his products. And I sat there, the question I asked, is there any other company that does this? Not as well as mine. I didn't believe the thing the man said. So, I want somebody to be objective. I want to know the truth. If it works, it doesn't work. And I forgot one other thing. Al, how you doing? Doing good? He gave a lecture yesterday. A lot of good feedback, by the way. I'm sorry I was lecturing somewhere else. So you're going to have to do that when I'm not lecturing. I want to see it. But he was talking about pain. And that's a motivator for patients. So, but I told you, I'd tell you why some patients are reactive to mercury and some aren't. And there's something called APOE 2, 3, and 4. It's the 19th chromosome. And if you have two cysteines, cystine loves heavy metals. It goes like this and it hugs it very much. I swear to God, if you drink mercury, you'll piss it out. It'll come out of your body. Most people are ALPE 3s, and that's either arginine, cysteine, arginine. You'll get half the taking out of the heavy metals. But if you're unlucky enough to be 2 arginines, you can't detoxify. You're a hoarder, as Dawn Ewing says. You cannot detoxify unless you get help. Somebody asked me, are you going to go get detoxified after all these years of being exposed? I said, hell no. Scares the hell out of me. I'm totally functional. I don't have problems from mercury. You have to mobilize it and get it out. You got to extract it out of the tissues. Where's it going to go? I think I'm ALP2. I can get it checked. So leave it well enough alone sometimes. Most patients need assistance to get it out. So find a naturopath, find a good nutritionist. Go to DAMS. Leo, outside the door. Leo, I love to death. He sends me some of the worst cases I've ever seen. People who have had a dozen failures with people. Good biological dentists too. And we go in and I find out what treatments they had, because I know those won't work. So now I got to find out and use something called a brain and some common sense and try to figure it out. And a number of them are AOPE4s, and they just are hoarders, and they need to be under a physician's care in IV detoxification. How are we doing time-wise? What's the next lecture?
9:35.
9:35 now. Did Miss Ewing give you the tape for the next lecture, or the thumb drive?
I
Don't have it.
don't, well, there's something sitting here, but I'll have to go get Dave. I'm not sure.
Okay, let's go find out what that is.
Well, this
I
is a
thank
safe
you all
camera.
for being here. Please stop me if you have any other questions, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.